persist from generation to generation because there is some truth in them. And the folk tales that have no truth disappear in time. And so, therefore, I eat a lot of eggplant. But I'll tell you something. You try to get eggplant cooked properly, it's almost impossible. It's a very difficult dish to cook properly. I get it, for example, my Savage eggplant is cooked perfectly. It has no cheese on it, and it's covered in a pomodoro sauce. It's unbelievable. It's perfect. And the reason I eat it without cheese is because I'm on a no-dairy diet. And I'm going to talk about that for a minute. Why am I on a no-dairy diet? Because I found, although I had incredibly great health, thus far to this stage of my life, I've had no surgery. I'm on no medication. Would you believe it? Most people my age are on 7 medications, and they want Uncle Schmuck to pay for every medication. And, of course, the doctor is very happy to prescribe another medication for you. You could say I've been very lucky. I have been lucky. Tomorrow I could be unlucky. I know how the world works. But the fact of the matter is I've also watched everything I've put in my mouth for 30 years. I've taken mega doses of vitamin C, vitamin E, B vitamins, and various doses of garlic and wine and vodka and beer. And all of them have worked superbly, as have my daily bicycle rides, which Dr. Kellogg highly recommended for your balance, if not for anything else. We'll talk about how much you need to exercise in a moment. But again, I want to go back to the overall statement that I'm making about why I am on a non-dairy diet. About 6 months ago, no, about a year ago, I started to get severe pains in my feet, not in my legs, but in the ball of my foot where I was limping. And my left hand, I couldn't close it. And I said, this is absurd. I shouldn't have arthritis. I'm in good health. Well, I again went back to my own writings of 30 years ago, and I said, Doctor, practice what you preach. Dr. Savage, practice what you preach. Don't you remember writing 30 years ago that the literature was filled with evidence that certain people cannot tolerate dairy because they do not have sufficient quantities of lactase to break down the lactose found in milk products? And that some people get relief from arthritis by eliminating all dairy. That means hard cheeses, that means milk, that means ice cream, etc. Well, guess what happened? I gave up all dairy, and I mean butter. I mean small amounts of milk and coffee. I mean what I loved the most, which was Parmesan cheese, Pecorino Romano. I loved it. I was on everything. I won't touch it. And you know what? I stopped limping, and my hand is fine. And if I cheat on my diet so much as one meal, the pain comes back. So as I say to you, you want to have a good discussion about real health care reform, real health insurance reform. It starts at your dinner table. You are the ultimate doctor to yourself. Don't rely upon anyone else until you absolutely need them. Anyway, these are some of the topics that I want to talk about today. We also have sound of President Obama in Mexico, of all places, promising the Mexicans once again that health care reform is on the way and that Uncle Schmuck will give them all a gold-plated medical care system if only he can continue to BS the public a little bit more. I'll be right back.
Armstrong and Getty.
They're not bullies with a microphone.
Weekday morning, 6 to 10. Talk 910 KNEW.
Doctors take their Hippocratic oath too seriously. This is the compassionate Ezekiel Emanuel. That's Ram's brother. He says, doctors take the Hippocratic oath too seriously. And he says, doctors should look beyond the needs of their patients and consider social justice. Those are progressive words, social justice, such as whether the money could be better spent on somebody else. So in other words, if you have a grandmother with Parkinson's who's had a good life, that money could be better spent on a young Mexican illegal alien. After all, that young Mexican illegal alien has not yet had a long, good life. So according to Rahm Emanuel's brother, Ezekiel Emanuel, your grandmother should not be treated for Parkinson's, but that money should be spent on the illegal alien 5-year-old, perhaps because that child has a longer road ahead. And we need social justice. Okay, moving on. Privacy is something that is rapidly disappearing under this administration. Liberals, it will only get worse from the far-left Obama administration. Joining us now is Dr. Peter Breggin to talk about the latest intrusions into our private lives by Obama's minions.
Michael, I went to a private medical clinic a few days ago, sat in the waiting room, and found myself in a state-of-the-art home theater with a flat-screen TV on the wall and very comfy chairs neatly arranged for good viewing. CNN's medical expert Sanjay Gupta was talking to me in his unctuous way about adult ADHD. Then a smooth lady psychiatrist from Harvard told us about the symptoms of adult ADHD, things like having trouble concentrating, a short attention span, and procrastinating. These, of course, are the ways most people behave when they really don't want to do what they're doing. The balanced presentation ended up flashing vivid pictures of pill bottles. First came a batch of 3, Ritalin, Concerta, and Adderall. Brand names were mentioned, but no one said that these are highly addictive chemicals classified among the most dangerous narcotics by the DEA. Never mind they make young people prone to cocaine abuse in later years, that they cause sudden cardiac death in young people and stunt growth. Never mind that they have no proven benefits beyond suppressing all spontaneous behavior for a few weeks. Then they flashed a bottle of Stratera on the screen and called it a non-stimulant treatment for ADHD when it's one of the more stimulating drugs around town. Not to mention, it has a black box warning about causing suicide. It used to be that the pharmaceutical company salespersons had to wait patiently beside us in the waiting room before getting to the doctors, or they had to buy lunch for the whole clinic. Now they pop into the office, go to the digital video hanging on the wall, and insert a new promotional DVD. The ads get into the heads of the patients before they even see their doctors. How do they get away with touting these drugs to the public without the required and ethically necessary warnings? Where is the FDA when you need them? Where they usually are, peeking out of the backside pants pocket of the drug companies.
It's summertime. Why are they targeting young adults now?
Good question, Michael. I think it's because young adults are getting ready to go back to college where the illegal use of these drugs is pandemic. Stimulant drugs enforce compulsivity and cause insomnia, so they help students cram all night for tests. Doesn't guarantee they're going to learn anything, but at least they can stay up all night. Recreationally, students mix these drugs with alcohol, making a dangerous cocktail of uppers and downers. These waiting room ads with their lists of symptoms prime the youngsters to say the right thing moments later in the doctor's office. The right thing that will get them a prescription for these dangerous drugs, whether for their own use or for sharing with friends or for selling on campus.
Well, this is something out of Orwell's 1984.
Yes, it's happening in doctors' offices around the country, thousands of them. Imagine what it will be like under socialized medicine when Barack Obama looks at us from the screen and explains how we got to start rationing our medical care. He will urge old guys like me not to use up so many medical resources. Progressives view our aging citizens the way they view our supposedly aging economy, as a burden on the rest of humanity. I'd like to see a waiting room rebellion, patients standing up to demand good old-fashioned TV like the Fox News channel or even CNN, and maybe a remote to change the stations when they want to. Meanwhile, it's not just the waiting room that's going digital. It's our private medical records under national health care. Right now around the country, people are being forced by their state governments to take psychiatric drugs. It's called outpatient commitment. Demoralized patients call me asking how they can stop their state officials from breaking into their homes to shoot them up with long-acting, mind-destroying antipsychotic drugs. There's even an underground railroad for helping these poor souls to escape to new places to live.
So people will be forced to take treatments that they may not want under Obama's government socialized medicine?
Yes, Michael, forced preventative treatment fits the public health aims of socialized medicine. A shy boy will be diagnosed as pre-schizophrenic and forced to take ruinous antipsychotic drugs. Eventually, people may be forced to take prescribed treatments for their cholesterol, blood pressure, or diabetes, or even for cancer. And if you're labeled with a stigmatizing diagnosis or forced to take treatment, as you suggested, there will be no place to escape under universal health care with universal record keeping. You will drag your medical record behind you like a digital ball and chain. So let's keep the government out of medicine and the pharmaceutical companies out of our waiting rooms. That brings me, as always, to my refrain, to my weekly report on Savage Nation. Protect freedom, take responsibility at all times, express gratitude for all your gifts and opportunities, become a source of love. You can listen to these radio reports and you can download the transcripts for all of them at www.breggin.com. That's BREGGIN.com.
Thanks, Dr. Breggin. This is the Savage Nation. With God's will and your listenership, I shall return.
Savage. Michael Savage. Afternoons 3 to 7.